Yeah, that's true. Sure. That is true.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah. Show the court.
A backpack.
Right.
Yeah, with underwear.
Let's see what's in there.
A backpack.
What are you hiding?
With a 3D printed gun.
Is that a hash brown or
pretty much everybody carries a gun nowadays,
Very true.
right?
Right.
You would be a good defense attorney.
Yeah, if you're ever looking for something else to do, you're good here, though.
I'm thinking about it. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk.
Now, you have been covering this trial from the beginning, and this took a long time for this case to get to trial. Allison Feldman died in February of 2015. She was murdered. And now here we are, over 10 years.
Exactly. And one of the key pieces of evidence is even older than that, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm. The DUI evidence from Mitcham.
Right. So 3 years prior, Ian Mitcham had that DUI where they took 2 samples, as we've talked about in the past, one for the blood draw for the police to test, and then also for him if he wanted to use it in his defense. But that evidence still stayed in their crime lab for years. And of course, we had the point where they had this unknown male profile. And first they had submitted it in the CODIS database, but they got a hit with the familial DNA to Marc Mitcham, which is Ian's brother, who's in the Arizona Department of Corrections since the 90s. And once they got that hit, then they tested it against, the DNA that they already had in their lab, matching it to him. So it's interesting because, the DPS policy for the state of Arizona is that after 90 days, you have to get rid of that evidence if it's not used in court, which it wasn't at that point.
Right.
So that didn't happen.
But that went to the Arizona Supreme Court.
Right.
To say, you can use it.
Exactly. And now we flash forward to today, and this is, of course, the third week because we did have a couple-week hiatus with the Thanksgiving break. But you have the sequence of events that are a decade in the making, and the key principles in this case, just remembering each part of how it played out, and then working to the advantage of either the defense attorney when they're doing the cross-examination to pick apart different things to say, hey, back a few years after the case, you had said this and you said that, and it doesn't match up with the statements of what's exactly, we have on the record. Mm-hmm. And then having to retell all that, it's really fascinating. Just look for the points that they want to poke at.
So what happened today?
So we again started with the one of the senior detectives on the case, who it's kind of interesting because in 2015 when the murder happened in February, he worked as one of the senior detectives on the murder, and then he had stepped away from the case. He got promoted and worked as a patrol sergeant, but then came back to lead the violent crimes unit. Mm-hmm. So to hear his recollection of being on the kind of front lines of the case with collecting the evidence of the day of course, that they found her body, and then the preceding days at the crime scene, and then to go back over the evidence that had been collected, because he had mentioned about keeping tabs on the case because it was such a well-known infamous mm-hmm. case in Scottsdale PD, but then to realize a couple things had been missed and we need to go back and check the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. What did the witnesses say at the time? One in particular, they were talking about there was a man seen walking about that had happened. And then in cross-examination, they brought up this pharmacist again, which is the key point that they raised in their opening statement, saying our client, the forensic evidence is what it is. The scene is there where, they kind of admitted his DNA is all over the place. Yeah. But they pointed out that this pharmacist was responsible for Allison Feldman's murder. Very fascinating.
And they just keep throwing that out there as kind of to throw out doubt. Is that right?
Yeah, create doubt for at least one jury member.
That's all you need. With a capital murder case, of course, it has to be 12 people unanimous in their decision. And if you can get just a little bit of reasonable doubt to get that one person hung up, you have a hung jury.
You know what's interesting, too? I mean, again, 2015 when this happened, you think now everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people have these Ring doorbell cameras or security cameras on their homes because they've become so easy to install. They're not that affordable or not that expensive anymore. We might have had a lot more evidence today than as far as seeing somebody on camera than we did back then. And maybe that's why they're going back and trying to retrace the steps. But why is this going to go on so long? Is there a very large witness list, or what's the...
I think it's just the mountain of forensic evidence.
Do you have to explain the DNA? Do they still have to do all that to people?
Well, they do, and at least what they've done so far with how they collected it and how they tested for it. And it is interesting, just not to get in the weeds too much in this case, but all the first responding officers had said the thing that they noticed the first time they went to Feldman's home was the strong smell of bleach, like this cleaner.
Right.
But it doesn't sound like it was a household like Clorox, but it was an industrial strength bleach. Now, you get to the testing of the DNA, how they're looking for blood. We used to have luminol, but they were using a different one. But bleach actually registers as blood or another substance when they're doing that. So you got a lot of things that are kind of cross-contaminating in this case. But they're saying we have this mountain of evidence, but a molehill of motive on why Mitcham did this.
And we don't know if Mitcham's going to take the stand, right?
That will be really interesting to see. I want to see if Mitcham's going to take the stand and this pharmacist.
Yeah.
You know,
And the
are they gonna
pharmacist
call him
is
up?
still alive, clearly.
Well, and hasn't been charged with a
And
crime.
says he has nothing to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how all that will play out, will that be enough if that person presumably gets on the stand and says, I plead the Fifth Amendment?
Yep.
Is that enough for the jury to say, is there something there I don't have beyond a reasonable doubt he did it?
Well, Trenton, thank you for joining us for this and laying out where the trial stands so far. And it's going to be interesting to watch this as it plays out.
Thank you, guys. Live coverage still going on.
All right, thanks. And we'll be right back. We got more to cover coming up after this. All right, welcome back to Fox 10 Talks on this Monday. A lot more to talk about. You know, we've been really talking a lot about the job market lately. Yeah. Some people are having trouble finding jobs. A lot of people, if they have the job, they just want to keep it and see how things play out.
That's true.
But it appears that Gen Z kind of, well, we've known this a little bit. When they don't like something, they kind of just will leave it.
You know, and also just spill it.
And some of them, a lot of them, in fact, are debating going on to social media, talking about bosses they don't like, work situations they don't like. It's kind of interesting because a lot of older generations may think like, you don't do that. It's going to hurt your job prospects in the future.
Like you don't want to burn a bridge.
Like,
you don't want to go on social media and say, hey, this boss was awful. This was horrible. This was a
toxic environment.
Right. Because if you're in that industry, you feel like the word is going to get out about you and you'll never get hired in that industry. But apparently, according to reports, Gen Z really doesn't.
That might be old school thinking. Let's check in right now with leadership development expert Julia Davis from Dallas, Texas. Julia, we were just kind of summing it up right now, but tell us what you're noticing as far as these trends with Gen Z workers and being willing to share if they have a bad experience going online and putting it on social media.
Thanks so much for having me on today. I do think there is definitely this new age way of thinking of airing out all your dirty laundry online, whether it's good or bad or whatever. But I do still think that posting any type of review is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to be affected, because long-term result is that if you post negatively or stomp on your employer on the way out, your likelihood of getting another job or them not finding that or not bringing that up could be very damaging to your career. So I think, we all know that the human brain isn't even fully formed until 25, and there's no censorship until that point. So people are very quick to go online and blast their employer, when in reality, they should probably just take that complaint up the food chain in the department that they're in and actually get a reaction or a result from whatever the negative was.
Yeah, and there was a survey with a lot of Gen Z workers asking them about this, if they would go online and post something on social about their bosses, a negative situation they might have had. And this survey says that even though they knew it might backfire on them, 33% of them said they would do it anyway. They would still share that negative information. But 58% said that they would not post about private work frustrations on social media. So it still seems like the majority realize that it could be bad for you, but and maybe for that 33% that say they will do it anyway, they're going to be the kind of people who will just
don't care.
They'll take the consequences, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they might not think too much about the repercussions in the future. But I mean, I was always taught never to burn a bridge, because you never know how it could come back to you 5, 10, 15 years later through any type of relationship that maybe that employer had with your next employer or 4 employers down the road. So it's just, in my opinion, bad practice to do it in general. Or
if that person who's your boss now leaves that company and goes to another place where you might be looking for a job down the road, your reputation will stay with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We had kind of a funny example, I guess. I don't know if that's the word to describe it, but this is not necessarily job related, but we had an influencer here in the Valley who put a bad review up of, they basically wanted free food. Okay. And they blasted this really well-known bakery here in Scottsdale, and it totally backfired, like completely backfired. And so then everybody went out and supported this business, and basically the bakery couldn't keep up because everybody loves this bakery. And it was kind of just this really kind of a cool moment where, everyone went out and supported this woman and was like, this influencer is horrible. Like, she's a horrible person for doing this. And so I don't
she had to go into, she disabled all of her accounts because of this, but it does show you how, things can really backfire for you on social media if you're not careful.
Yeah. I think it's a good lesson too. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think you guys are spot on.
What are the prospects right now, though, for Gen Z who are looking for jobs? We keep hearing about the job market being really tough out there right now, and especially people who are getting out of college, trying to get into the job market.
Yeah, I actually just interviewed a college professor on my podcast last week, and she was talking about how sometimes people are so singularly focused on what job they want to have. So if they're in a fashion merchandising position, they only want to work for like Louis Vuitton or some type of fashion industry, versus broadening your horizons and getting experience anywhere. So if you want to do anything, you got to get in at the ground level somewhere. So be flexible with what you are trying to learn. So if you need to learn sales, get in at any sales job and try to develop that skill in sales. Or if you need to learn merchandising, get in anywhere and do merchandising. Or if you need to learn back end stuff or accounting, work with an accountant. But I think a lot of times people are so singularly focused on, they want their first job to be their end goal, when in reality, you got to get in somewhere and get the experience before you're going to land the job that maybe you really want 5 or 10 years down the road.
Yeah. My first TV job was peeling off old tapes from videotapes that were going to be reused and putting new labels on them. So that was definitely the ground floor.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere, and that probably is the case right now too. Real quick question, as far as just applying online, is there a way to kind of get around that, especially if AI is just weeding people out right now when you are applying online, because that's kind of the norm right now?
I think you can, online is great. You can apply anywhere online for sure. There's a lot of different sites that hosted, like Handshake is a really great one for college students that people can go online. There's a website called Results Over Resumes where you don't have to have a lot of experience. You can just apply on there. But also go in person. So if there's a job that you want or there's a place that you want to work, there's nothing beats going in with your resume in hand and saying, hey, I wanted to apply for this position. I wasn't able to get in online. Can I just talk to somebody in charge? Or is there a time where I can book an appointment with somebody? That really goes a super long way because not many people are doing that these days. And if you just show up in a business suit with your resume in hand, wanting to talk to somebody in charge, it speaks volumes over people that might just mail it in, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, that's great advice. Julia Davis, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you talking about the state of the job market for Gen Z.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Julia.
Absolutely. Thanks, you guys.
All right. Next up, busy show today, we told you.
Wow. Yes, we do. And a lot going on right now in the sports world, not only professional, but certainly in the collegiate level. And the guy who was always plugged in is Blake Niemann.
Yeah. Blake, I saw the news first on your X account today. Mm-hmm. What is it, if you want to put it out there? Blake?
Well, so it's not entirely clear at the moment, like what exactly is. The evidence that we have right now is that Sam Levitt did not show up to ASU's end-of-year banquet last night. Okay. That's a pretty big deal just because that's like team awards. Like
ASU quarterback. Yeah.
ASU quarterback, highest paid player on ASU's roster in terms of NIL, was a preseason Heisman contender and had an injury that he suffered in the Houston game on October 25th, and he hasn't played since. Hasn't really been around in the public eye too much since that happened. Mm-hmm. And now it was reported by PHNX Sports this morning that Levitt intends to enter the transfer portal. That was also reported by On3 Sports a few weeks ago. Levitt hasn't put anything out in terms of that, in terms of if he is going to enter the transfer portal or not. But the way that Kenny Dillingham was talking about it today, which we can show the clip right here, is that it sounds like Sam's days as a Sun Devil might be done.
Right, let's take a listen.
Well, from that perspective, I'm going to leave that to Sam's team, out of respect for him, for how they want to, progress from that. I love Sam. Sam grew so much here, and, he really did. And I grew so much learning from Sam. And I wish, whatever his future holds, I wish him nothing but the best. I absolutely want to see him succeed. And I can sleep really well at night knowing that we helped him progress himself along his journey. That is now the craziness of college football. With that, I'm very, very confident that we're going to have a really, really good quarterback at Arizona State. I can say that I'm very, very confident we're going to have a good quarterback at Arizona State.
Kenny Dillingham handled that situation like very admirably, very respectful, and like didn't bash Sam Levitt in any way. But the way he was talking about it was like past tense.
I would say past tense. It's the past.
And wishing him the best. Like those are all connotations of words that seem like there's been a moving of on.
Yeah.
And then seeming excited at the end of that clip, like he knows something that he can't say right now.
Yeah. I'm not sure what that was. That kind of all took us back a little bit. They do have a 4-star quarterback recruit who's going to be coming in, ironically, from El Paso, which is where ASU is going to be playing in the Sun Bowl on the 31st. But they're also like, now it's pretty much destiny that they're going to go get a transfer portal quarterback. When that happens, I don't know, because the transfer portal actually doesn't even open, folks, until January 2nd. So like all of this is now just, players are just announcing that they intend to enter the transfer portal, but they can't actually file the paperwork or commit to anywhere until the portal opens on January 2nd, which is still with, the college football playoff semifinal and finals still to take place. It's really crazy what's going on in college football.
And games are what, like January 19th too? Like, even like in the college playoff, they're past ASU, January 2nd.
ASU's second semester of school starts in the middle of the college football playoff. So like there's players, and I'm sure this is a lot of situation with other schools that are competing in the college football playoff. If you want to transfer, but also be a part of a championship winning team, you can't really do that anymore because you have to enroll. Like it's a weird situation.
Now, not to put you on the spot, but you've kind of developed a relationship with Sam Levitt. You went up to Washington where, he was playing. And did this surprise you, or would this surprise you if it turns out to be what it seems like?
It's been I don't know. I was a little taken back by it just because of like he seemed like he really enjoyed it here at ASU, and I don't think this is a decision based on anything that dislike for ASU, dislike for Tempe, dislike for Kenny Dillingham, Marcus Arroyo. I think he genuinely really likes it here and likes how the people have really embraced him. And he went from a backup at Michigan State to like Heisman contender. Like what Kenny Dillingham has done for him has been incredible. But I think it's just now he's going to be losing his star receiver next year with Jordan Tyson. They're going to be losing 28 seniors. 28 seniors are going to be leaving. And so a lot of that, and he had to deal with being without Cam Scatterby this year, which was a struggle. ASU ended up 8-4.
Yep.
And so I think he's taken a lot of that into account, and he thinks it's the best position to get to the NFL draft, which is his ultimate hope, is be a first-round pick to go somewhere else that might have better roster and better players to play with.
Yeah. And more money, too.
Yeah, and more money. But I do think it's not so much financially motivated. I genuinely think that, just knowing Sam.
And it could have been lightning in a bottle with Scatterby and Levitt and Dillingham. I mean, that was, that season was unforgettable. So,
Yeah.
Dillingham's talked about, like, he's trying to break the narrative of ASU being a flash-in-the-pan program. 96 with Jake Plummer and Pat Tillman. There was, like, the 2007 year with Dennis Erickson, the 2014 year where they beat Notre Dame. There's been, like, little spurts, but the consistency of winning at ASU has never really happened. That's what Kenny Dillingham's trying to change.
Yeah. And the Big 12 is hard. I mean, it is a hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Texas Tech in the playoff.
Texas Tech. Woohoo! Number 4. All right, let's go. We got a long road ahead, but we can do it.
Yeah. Well, Kenny looked excited at the end of that, so we'll just see how this all works out.
He's a positive guy.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see who the quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, we'll see.
It will.
All right, Blake, thanks for joining us. Again, a lot to cover today. Are you all ready for Christmas, by the way?
Perfect.
I am so ready for Christmas. I got my Christmas tree. I got my ornaments and everything. I'm a very festive guy.
All right, great. I gotta get going on that. I put it off.
Hey, we have a Christmas luncheon too.
Exactly.
Wednesday coming up. We got